Welcome back to the Joy Murami Show. This is the show that is decolonizing, demystifying African spirituality, African healing, and African metaphysics. I am your host, Joy Murami. And this is a really actually serious conversation that we're going to have today. We're talking trauma, disease, illnesses, problems from African spirituality, how we understand them as African healers, as African ancestral traditional healers. And I feel this is an important conversation because often enough we have this idea that problems are outside ourselves, and so we try to fix them from the outside. And with African spirituality, it's more about going within and really doing an introspection within yourself and within your bloodline and within the collective consciousness of first of your people, your community, of the village that you come from, and your country, the continent, as well as the whole human race. So this is what we're talking about today: trauma from African spirituality. In African spirituality, we are quite aware of the impact that our ancestors have on us. We understand that we inherit not only the faces that we have, the noses that we have, or how we speak, but we also inherit the predispositions that we have in terms of like our personalities, in terms of our thoughts, our perception of the world, as well as our predispositions to specific or certain traumas. We understand that we often form loyalties to how things are done in our bloodline, and we continue creating our world from how things have been done from our bloodline or from the past. And with that awareness and understanding, we understand that some of the problems that come up in the present time, some of the diseases, some of the traumas that come up, sometimes we can find the origin or the source of those problems, of those trauma, from the bloodline itself. It's through looking in the past that we can truly understand what's happening right now. And really, truly, this is not something that is just for African spirituality. It is the collective way of existing. We call it the collective unconscious, which is that there are things that we have learned from the people who existed before us that we continue doing in the present time. And that if we want to change, if we want to heal those things, we must first identify those things and know the origins of those things, and then do the work of changing them, of healing them. And this can be through shifting perceptions or actually doing the spiritual healing that needs to happen. All physical disconnections are spiritual disconnections. So the question is always, where in your life are you feeling a disconnection? Where are you currently struggling? And when you look in your ancestral bloodline, or the energy or the collective consciousness of your people, where you come from, your tribe or your country people, where could you replicate? Where could you be replicating those problems from those lineages and from those collective consciousness? So the origin of trauma, we understand it as something that can be found in the past. Okay, so talking about trauma within money and how we understand it in African spirituality. So first of all, money is a concept that obviously was created by an ancestor somewhere, right? And as soon as you understand that, then you can understand that your relationship with money is also possibly something you have learned from your ancestors, because it's a concept that was introduced a long time ago in the lineage, right? And how we, as children, we learn from the spaces that we're in, our first environment. Your relationship with money is likely influenced by how you saw your mother or your father relating with money. And your mother and father, their relationship with money is from their own relationships with their mothers and father, and on it goes. We can find that as we look in the lineage, we find that people in that specific lineage have been having the same problems within money over and over again. And most of the time it's because one ancestor might have experienced trauma around money, and because of that trauma they have made a story about what money is and how money comes to them and how money comes to them as part of the bloodline. And so it's very easy for people to make vows that as a bloodline we're not the kind of families that make this kind of money because something traumatic happened to an ancestor. And that story then is said throughout the generations, and each person in each generation either chooses to believe in that story or chooses not to believe in it. Most of the time, many people, because of wanting to be part of the tribe, because of wanting to be loved, we often are loyal to the story or to the promise or to the vow. And so we carry ourselves in the world with the idea that our people don't make that kind of money. And so we never allow ourselves to make that kind of money. And so we have money trauma and money stories, limited money stories that stop us from ever truly thriving because of what happened in the lineage, in the bloodline. So as soon as you understand, then you can start doing the task of asking yourself, where have I learned this about money? Did I learn it from my mother or did I learn it from my father? How do we relate with money? How do we exist with money at home? And in what ways am I replicating that energy in my life? In what ways am I loyal to the story that was formed in my bloodline? So we understand that the children keep continuing to keep those promises and those vows. And most of the time then we say, this is a generational curse, right? A curse is just when you believe the words that have been spoken, and then that becomes your reality. So once you shift and understand that, then you can ask yourself, okay, what is the generational curse that we are holding around money as a bloodline? And then we begin there. We also keep the same vows around love. Our experience of love is often sometimes along the vows that have been kept and have been made in the lineage. If one of the ancestors says that love is difficult for our people, our women do not get married, you might look in your own lineage and realize actually this is true. A lot of our women do not get married, and that's because there is a spiritual agreement that you have made with the lineage, with that ancestor who made that vow, and you continue with that agreement and you're afraid of breaking it. And so in many ways it feels like you're resisting love to come because of this specific vow. So the invitation even within love is to look and ask, where am I possibly keeping an agreement that is limiting my experience around love? And then healing can start from there. Look at the word disease, it is dis-ease, something not at ease, something disconnected, right? And disease actually arises from a spiritual disconnection. If something is not working and we are not able to actually comprehend the traumas that we are going through, and there is no psychic understanding of it, what we often do is we create that as a physical illness. Because when it's in the body, it is actually easier to process, right? So disease comes from a spiritual pain, spiritual trauma. And sometimes some diseases are from the spiritual disconnections or spiritual traumas that have existed in the lineage that keep manifesting in the bloodline. We are also predisposed to specific diseases that our ancestors have had. Right? So we might have an ancestor who went through a trauma, a great loss perhaps, and in that instant they had a heart attack and they died. And so in that moment, in the DNA at a genetic level, there is a coding of a heart attack when trauma is happening. And so the lineage might be predisposed to having heart attacks coming up more often than the other, say, lineage. And it's because of those vows that, because that trauma was never processed properly, whenever something similar to that trauma comes up, then the same response is activated in the person of that lineage. So we sometimes have to look and say, what is actually the spiritual origin of this disease in our bloodline? Why is this disease coming up? What have we not processed? Right? And it can be in your personal life, but we can also find it also at an ancestral level, that what haven't our ancestors processed around the heart, around the womb, around the head, around wherever the disease that you find as part of the pattern of the diseases in your families are. In the way that you have your own personal soul mission, which will be what you're here to do in the world, your ancestral lineage as well might actually have a specific mission that it's here to do. And this is why sometimes you look at a home or a lineage and you find that, oh, they have a lot of teachers and a lot of healers there. And that could be that is part of the ancestral mission of that lineage. Or those are the artists, or those are the scientists, and that could be that's because of the ancestral mission of that lineage. And so what happens is sometimes when we are not aware of the ancestral missions that we are coming from, we might go for different careers that are not particularly in alignment with our ancestral mission, our also soul missions and our soul gifts. And then we keep finding ourselves having problems in our jobs or in our careers. And that could be because that is not the career that you are here to be part of, right? And so what our ancestors will do is will try to redirect you. And so problems might come in your career. And instead of thinking, what am I doing wrong? You could ask, where could I be redirected at? Where am I being asked to look at in how I can serve, right? And most of the time, you find that you already have the gifts that of your ancestral lineage, and that those gifts are there because you are meant to use them in your career path or in how you make a living in this life, or at least how you contribute to the world. So some problems come from a redirection so that you can get in alignment with your ancestral mission. You have different guides who are guiding you within the gifts that you have. For example, I have ancestors who are the storytellers, who are my guides around my storytelling, or ancestors who are the orators or who are the priests, and so when I'm speaking, they are the ones who are guiding this process where I'm speaking. So the idea is to get you to utilize these gifts within you so that you can heal the traumas within the bloodline, right? You can contribute by bringing light through those gifts. So within us is our potential to heal, and within us is the part of us that has been hurt, and we have within each lineage all the solutions that we need. And what we need to do, and what African spirituality is trying to teach us, is to help us return to this knowledge, to this awareness, so that each lineage can do what it is here to do, so that we can all fully ascend into that unconditional love that I love talking about at all times. So my invitation to you is to take time to look at your ancestral bloodline and to see where it might be influencing your experiences around the 4 parts of your life that are important: your money, your love, your health, and your career, and see if it might be necessary for you to do the healing that needs to happen so that you release those vows, those generational curses, so that they may end with you, right? I will be doing a video on healing trauma from African spirituality, and also really from spirituality as well, which is the modality that I work in. So thank you so much for joining me. Do the things of commenting, of liking, of sharing this video, and clicking the button, the bell button, so you know when I'm dropping the healing trauma video. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.